presidential decree is issued appointing Omar Galawanji as Prime Minister and relieving Riyad Hijab of his duties. And the Minister of Finance denies what some media outlets said about him being arrested. An explosive device planted in the building of the Syrian Arab radio and television goes off. A few people are injured. Syrian Arab armed forces inflict heavy casualties on terrorist groups financed by the Gulf and Turkey in Aleppo and clash with a terrorist gang in Homs countryside. Good afternoon, this is news in English from the Syrian Arab television in Damascus. President Bashar al-Assad issued today decree number 294 that stipulates dismissing Riyad Hijab from his post as Prime Minister. President Assad also issued decree number 295 that stipulates designating Engineer Omar Galawanji as a caretaker premier in addition to his post. Minister of Finance Mohammad Jleilati today dismissed media reports that claimed that he fled as untrue. He said, "I am a Syrian citizen," before being a minister. During a telephone call, Jleilati said he was speaking from his office and that he is carrying out his duties freely and transparently, adding that he did not defect. He added that the media disinformation has spread similar baseless rumors, before noting that he was just at an economic meeting at the Prime Ministry before he made the phone call with our reporters. The minister affirmed that the aim of spreading such rumors is destroying the national economy, while on the other hand the Syrian government is doing all it can to protect the economy, and this make up rumors to shake the citizens' trust in the economy. The minister also condemned the criminal act that was carried out against the Syrian Arab radio and television station, saying that it is an indescribable criminal act that aims at shaking up the stability of Syria. An explosive device today exploded inside the building of the General Organization of the Radio and Television in Damascus. The explosion took place on the third floor of the building and caused a number of injuries. Minister of Information Omar stressed to the Syrian television by phone that the explosion at the building was the result of an explosive device blast that caused minor injuries and material damage only, assuring that all the workers are safe. "We know those who stand behind such coward and desperate criminal acts," said Al-Saud, affirming that the national Syrian media continue to be transparent in reporting the truth and expressive of the Syrian people's aspirations. He stressed that the radio and television organization will remain a beacon not only for the media in Syria but also for the Arab media, the most of which now is biased and complicit in the conspiracy against Syria. Mr. Al-Saud added that the organization will continue work as usual, highlighting that the morale of the cadres is at its best as they are all behind their desks. Syria's enemies are waging a media campaign in an attempt to block the Syrian information sources and to prevent them from telecasting facts and objective realities to the world public opinion. So they resorted to the terrorist crimes of murder and abduction of media men.
The steadfastness of the Syrian mass media frustrated and disappointed Syria's enemies. So they targeted the Syrian media, which exposed their false lies and raised the voices of truth that exposed their poisonous lies and vicious instigations. So they began to attack the buildings of TV stations in various places. There were series of sanctions by America, European and Gulf states like Saudi and Qatari regimes against our public and private information media and their journalists. The Syrian mass media continue to carry out their national duty of transmitting the truth. It's worth mentioning that the terrorists financed by Qatari and Saudi regimes attacked and destroyed the office of the Syrian News Al-Ikhbariya TV channel and killed a number of its journalists.
Authorities on Monday clashed with an armed terrorist group in Busra Sham in the countryside of Daraa province that committed acts of killing and sabotage against the citizens. An official source in the province told Sana reporter that the group's members were killed or injured in the clashes, noting that the bodies of the terrorists Abdulrahim al-Masri and Yahya Hamid al-Miqdad were identified among the dead. The source added that the authorities clashed also with an armed terrorist group in the town of Smad, inflicting heavy losses upon its members. Our armed forces clashed today with an armed terrorist group on the road of Aleppo Raqqa and arrested 9 of them. The armed forces also confiscated 4 of the terrorist cars, 1 PKC machine gun, several other machine guns, grenades, explosive devices, military uniforms and a large quantity of ammunition. An official source in the governorate was quoted by Sana correspondent as saying that our armed forces confronted the armed terrorist group in the area of Saif al-Dawla in Aleppo, killing and injuring dozens of them. Meanwhile, our armed forces continued to clear up Salah ad-Din neighborhood and to chase the terrorists, inflicting heavy casualties on them. In Homs countryside, the security forces followed up and monitored a vehicle full of various kinds of weapons in the area of Al-Hula and detained the terrorists driving it. They found weapons including Israeli-made high-tech snipers in addition to other automatic weapons. More than 7,000 Syrian, Arab and Australians participated in the mass rally organized by Australians for Syria group in cooperation with other youth groups and figures from the Syrian and Arab communities in Australia.
Syria's honorary consul to Sydney, Maher al-Dabbagh, said that the participants wanted to stress to the whole world that Syria is strong in the face of the most severe attack launched by the West and the oil tycoons. The gathering crowds reiterated solidarity with Syria and their standing by its leadership, people and army, expressing thanks to the friendly countries over their stances towards Syria. The participants also toured the main streets of Sydney and they stopped in front of the office of the Australian Foreign Minister Bob Carr, condemning the Australian official stance and Carr's statements against Syria.
The Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs, Mr. Amir Abdullahian, who is currently visiting Russia, asserted that both countries have the same view of the situation in Syria. They oppose any foreign intervention in Syria's internal affairs. He also asserted that the problem of terrorism in Syria stems from America's support for smuggling weapons into Syria. The Iranian official also asserted that Syria would confront any aggression very strongly because it is fully capable of defeating any aggression. In addition to the oppression practiced by the Saudi forces against the people of Bahrain, American forces are being dispatched to take part throughout the eastern region of the Arabian Peninsula. The young man Hussein Yusuf al-Khalaf was killed by the Saudi security forces.
It seems that demonstrations in Bahrain are getting out of control, and the forces of Al-Saud and Al-Khalifa are no longer able to suppress the protests. Therefore, they resorted to American forces. The American paper The Day described a farewell party held for 260 American soldiers dispatched to Bahrain, where it seems that there is an unannounced state of emergency. In Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, dozens of people are detained every day, without any respect for the privacy of homes. Meanwhile, legal and humanitarian organizations are turning a blind eye to such violations of human rights. In fact, the chairman of the Bahraini Center of Human Rights has been imprisoned for 3 months after being charged of writing on a website and organizing an unlicensed march in which he took part. As for Najd and Al-Hijaz and the so-called Saudi Arabia, tens of thousands of demonstrators marched in protest against the murder of the young Hussein Yusuf al-Khalaf during a peaceful march in Al-Awamiyah. The battalions of Al-Saud refused to deliver his body to his family unless his father signed a written confession that his son opened fire on one of their security men. In Al-Qatif, a demonstration took place at night against the injustice imposed on most people of Najd and Al-Hijaz. The demonstrators asserted that the blood of the martyrs would eventually bring down the rule of Al-Saud. Robert Fisk in The Independent said that the U.S. claims that it wants to spread democracy. Its first ally in the region, Qatar, represents a flagrant tyrannical rule, whereas Saudi Arabia is considered one of the most malicious dictatorships in the Arab world.
That was it for our news for today. For more details and news about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us. After the break, Vani and the latest in economy.